Hey, Film Man here, coming at you with another How to Beat video, and when I say how to beat, I mean you absolutely cannot beat, because today we're looking at Vivarium, a small indie horror film set in an endless suburbia. The film is ultimately a cautionary tale about the middle-class trappings of mortgages, children, and marriage, but the film is foremost a story about a couple who literally get trapped in suburbia. And I mean trapped. I'm convinced that there is no way for the couple to escape their situation, and in this video I'm going to explain exactly why it's impossible to beat Vivarium in rich detail. But first, a quick plot summary for those who may have missed this 2018 film starring Jesse Eisenberg. Tom, played by Jesse Eisenberg, and Jenna, played by Imogen Poots? Is she the daughter of Brad Poot? Walk into a real estate office looking to buy their first home together, and the agent convinces them to see the homes in person in a new development called Yonder. However, halfway through the house tour, the real estate agent disappears, and so does his car. Confused, Tom and Jenna try to leave Yonder, but they can't find their way back out again. They drive all day until they run out of gas, right in front of the house they were shown. They give up and sleep in the house for the night. They eat some of the food in the fridge, but complain that it's tasteless, and that it makes them feel sick. The next day, they try to walk out of Yonder by following the sun and jumping over fences. After an entire day of going in a straight line, however, they end up back at the house they started at. They find a box full of food in front of the house. Next, they try burning the house down to make a signal fire, but when they wake the next morning, the house is completely intact, and there's another box in the street. This one has a baby in it, and the box reads, "Raise the child and be released." So they do. Over the next 3 months, Jenna and Tom raise the child, which grows extraordinarily quickly. It mimics their behavior and speech, appearing to study them. Tom starts to dig a hole in the front yard, trying to find a way out of Yonder, and that keeps him busy for the rest of the movie. One day, Jenna notices that the child is missing, but several hours later he appears back at the house holding a book. It's filled with pages of text written in an undecipherable language. From then on, the child spends the day elsewhere and returns in the evening. Jenna asks him where he goes, and he replies, "I'm not supposed to tell you." But Jenna tricks him into revealing that he meets with someone, and they definitely aren't human. Time passes until the boy has grown into a man. Tom and Jenna have been getting weaker and weaker, presumably from the strange tasteless food they've been given. Tom discovers a body in the hole he's been digging and runs to tell Jenna, but collapses in exhaustion. He dies in her arms the next day. The child brings a body bag and dumps Tom's body in the hole he dug. Jenna finally reaches her breaking point and attempts to kill the child, but it escapes into the sidewalk? Jenna follows and finds herself falling through different floors, each one with a child and a distraught couple just like them. She eventually falls back into her own house. The child cares for her until she dies, at which point he puts her in a body bag and throws her into the hole with Tom. He fills the hole and then leaves Yonder in their car, procuring gas from somewhere, and then drives to the real estate office. The real estate agent, at the end of its life apparently, dies of old age as the child enters, so the child puts him in a body bag and then takes his place. The film ends with the child about to bring another unsuspecting couple to Yonder. Vivarium is such a difficult film to beat because the main characters have almost no agency and are completely at the mercy of the creatures holding them captive. The film even goes out of its way to show just how hopeless their situation is. Need an example? First, they try driving out of Yonder, but every turn they make just brings them back to number 9. Next, they try phoning for help, only to find that they have no service. They walk in a completely straight line towards the sun, but still end up at house number 9 by nightfall. They try putting a help sign on the roof in the hopes that a passing plane might see it and rescue them, but later Jenna comments that no planes ever fly overhead, and that the clouds are perfectly cloud-shaped clouds, implying that even the sky isn't attached to the regular world. They try burning the house down, only to find it unscathed the next morning. Lastly, they try digging a way out, but here too they run into a dead end. The dirt isn't really dirt, first of all, and more has the consistency of Play-Doh. Second, Tom spends literally the rest of his life digging this hole, but can't find a way through to anything other than the previous tenants. Maybe they could attack or follow whoever is delivering food to them. Apparently not, because the boxes seem to disappear and appear out of thin air as soon as they so much as blink. Jenna insists that she was standing right here. I was looking at the road when one of the boxes disappears. Whatever is moving including the boxes, is impossible to see or track. So what's going on here? Yonder seems to exist in a pocket dimension that only the creatures are capable of navigating. If they are extra-dimensional beings, it would explain how they're able to make things appear and disappear, and why they're the only ones capable of leaving Yonder. If the exit requires one to move in an extra-dimensional direction, it would be impossible for three-dimensional beings to leave. When the child escapes into the sidewalk and Jenna follows him, she finds other couples trapped in the same situation, in spaces all stacked on top of each other. Slipping through these spaces seems to disorient and fatigue Jenna, lending more evidence to the idea that she's traveling through extra-dimensional spaces that she doesn't understand and wasn't made for. The reason for why they can't escape is never explained, and though we're free to speculate, what's important is that escaping Yonder is impossible, and the only way to leave is if one of the creatures leads you out. The life cycle of the creatures is that of a brood parasite. They steal a young couple and force them to raise one of their kind, so that the child may learn to perfectly mimic humans. Once the child has been raised, the food they've been given eventually kills the parents. The child disposes of the parents and then heads out into the world to prey on more humans, thus completing the life cycle. They have their own language and their own TV show. They age about 30 times more rapidly than humans do, and I was able to figure this out because they date the child as 98 days old in this scene. And the actor who plays the child, Sanan Jennings, was 8 years old at the time of filming. In total, Jenna and Tom spend about a year in Yonder before they die, because the actor who plays the adult version of the child was 30 years old at the time of filming. What's up, my dude? I am totally surfing the web right now, but to protect my data stream from totally uncool hackers, I only use Surfshark VPN, man. And I am amped to tell you that you can use Surfshark VPN to securely surf the net. Their uncrackable encryption keeps your data from falling into the wrong hands, which means you can safely use public Wi-Fi to make online purchases, check your banking info, and hang 10 on an epic internet swell. Shred the gnar and ride the gnar. Isn't it a buzzkill when you're trying to use a streaming service only to find that the best stuff isn't in your region? Talk about an epic wipeout. With Surfshark VPN, you can get around locked regional content on all popular streaming services. You can also kick it on unlimited devices with a single subscription. You can get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.deals/filmherald and enter the promo code FilmHerald for 83% off and 3 extra months for free. And if you're not completely satisfied in the first 30 days, you can get a full refund. Barney, Riptide, Chunder, Surfing Lingo, Surfshark VPN. So if there's no way to escape and the food will kill them in a year's time, how could Jenna and Tom possibly get out of Yonder? As far as I can surmise, there are only 2 serious solutions to beating Vivarium, and neither of them are very promising. The first solution is to convince the child to help you escape. Tom and Jenna did raise the creepy little monster, so it's possible that they could have raised it to be more sympathetic to their situation. Jenna proved that it's possible to trick the child because she convinces him to show her his true form and language. It may be possible to trick him into leading them out of Yonder. However, they're immediately fighting a losing battle. The moment the child starts getting lessons from its own kind, he's also told not to tell Tom and Jenna anything. After this first time, when Jenna was able to trick him, the child starts attending daily lessons with its own kind, which would pull it further and further away from any manipulation tactics Tom and Jenna could devise. It also doesn't seem likely that they could have taught the child a little humanity, chiefly because it's not human. So while the solution is technically possible, I think it has a slim chance of success. But if that doesn't work, you could try exactly the opposite approach and threaten to murder the child instead, which is the final possible solution to escaping Yonder. Tom almost did exactly that, by locking the child in the car with the intent of starving it to death. He wasn't planning on using it as a bargaining chip, he was just sick of living with it. Nevertheless, he was onto something. If Tom and Jenna threatened to kill the child, they might be able to negotiate their release. As previously discussed, there is no way to escape Yonder unless you're let out by one of the creatures. In my opinion, this is the best chance they have to escape, because the child is the only leverage they have over the creatures. But would it actually work? It's hard to say. When Tom traps the child in the car, he says if they don't want it to die, they'll come come for it. But they don't come. Granted, it doesn't take very long for Jenna to rescue the child, but the creatures make no attempt at saving the child in the meantime. If they don't care about the life of the child, then Tom and Jenna truly have nothing they can bargain with. I still think that threatening the life of the child is the very best way they could attempt to escape Yonder, but it still depends on whether the creatures would respond to the threat, and there's no way to know if they would or not. But what little evidence we have indicates that they wouldn't, which is why I believe there is no legitimate solution for beating Vivarium. But if you disagree, and you think you have a better way to beat the creatures from Vivarium, please regale us with your solution in the comments. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this has been the Film Herald.